So I'm Kristie Jones. I'm a sales consultant. I spend most of my time working with earlier stage VC or PE-backed startups. So spend most of my time in the SaaS tech startup space. Most of my clients are up and down the corridor of the Midwest. So right now, Matt from Madison, Wisconsin, and Indianapolis client, and a couple here in St. Louis. So I say I do a couple of things. I do broken and I do zero. So in some cases, right after somebody has gotten funding, I help them do everything. So one-stop shop for helping to hire, putting tools and processes together, sales strategy, top of the funnel. And then I get that same phone call when VCs have invested in companies and things are not going well. So I come in to do evaluation and help, kind of right the ship, if you will. I have 20 years of SaaS sales leadership under my belt. I started my own company 4 years ago. So really sales training, sales coaching, sales strategy, sales process is my swim lane. I'm excited to do this webinar with you guys today. I was sharing before you guys jumped on. Like I said, this is the third time I've done it. First time I did it, I had 75 people show up live. Second time I did it, I'm part of a group called the Sales Experts Channel by Bright Talk. You guys should probably check out Bright Talk. They have different channels and so they host webinars. They have their own platform. But Bright Talk, you can go to you can go to sales or accounting or IT or whatnot. And experts like me will do webinars on a regular basis. You can check them, check out the descriptions, sign up for what you want. I did that early last week for that group, of which I'm a speaker on, and had 450 people sign up live. So people are, what I got from that is people are scared and people are freaked out and people don't know how to handle sales and prospecting right now. So again, I want this to be interactive. So jump in when you feel the need for a question. And it's a smaller group. So I did a group this afternoon with 25 and we unmuted and it went fine. So I'm all good. So let's talk about what we're going to cover today. And again, if you have questions outside of this, again, we can do that at the end too, or you can reach out to me privately. So if you've got other advice that doesn't fall into prospecting, there's a lot of questions about handling customers right now too. So let's get all of your problems on the table and solve them when we can. So talking about why we need to be prospecting and why we need to continue prospecting, methods in the age of Corona. So we're going to change our methodology of prospecting right now. Crafting compassionate and empathetic emails and voicemail scripts and communication in general. Most awkward thing is opening up your prospecting call. So we're going to talk about that and some ideas. Research and customization is going to become more important than ever before. Generic templates and voicemail scripts are not going to work right now. So we need to be more personal in our approach. Video, which is why I asked you to turn on your video. I'm a huge video junkie. I've been doing Zoom video for a couple of years now. Now every meeting has video, and we'll talk about some tips to get comfortable with video and then how to get everybody else comfortable with video. You're probably, if you are prospecting or talking to people, you're probably getting the call me in May or now call me in June or call me in July. So we'll talk about how to handle that objection, and then let's take questions as we go along and at the end. So let's jump in. Why do we need to continue to prospect? Let's be honest, we're not going to be able to cut our costs enough to cut our costs out of this problem. We're going to have to sell our way out of this problem. So the sooner you wrap your head around the fact that that's going to be the case, the better. But in any, if you go back to 01 or you go back to 08, the companies that did the best or did better than their competitors were ones that put a sales strategy in place and continued to sell, even if it was with a limited staff, even if it was with a limited budget. But we're going to have to sell our way out of the situation in order to come out ahead sooner than our competition. The fact of the matter is your prospects and your customers still have problems that need to be solved. Their problems may not be at the forefront of the burner right now, but those problems haven't changed, right? So the problems they had 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago pre-corona still exist today. Your solution still exists today and is a solution to those problems. So none of that's really changed. We're going to continue to need revenue in Q2 and Q3 and Q4 and in 2021. So you're going to need top of the funnel, right? So if you don't have prospects in the funnel, you're not going to be able to close business. So, that's just the reality. And then lastly, you've got bills to pay and mortgages to pay, and you're going to need your own cash. So for those of you who are commission sales reps, this is one of the main reasons why you need to continue to prospect and you need to continue to sell. So let's talk about methods in the age of Corona. So this is not business as usual. Everybody understands that. So but we can't treat it that way either. So I say throw away your pre-Corona cadences. And for those of you who didn't grow up in the SaaS world like I did, I'll explain that. But really, what we do in a lot of our software companies is we have business development reps or sales development reps who go out to set appointments for either themselves or account executives. So we use what we call cadences. So what that means is we normally touch people 12 times in a 2 to 3 week period of time with different methodologies, and we'll continue to talk about that. But what I really mean here is any pre-existing template that did not address the elephant in the room needs to be tossed. And I don't mean like really tossed, but I mean it needs to be taken out of the mix. So no more, none of the messaging that you are using pre-Corona, none of the email templates, none of the voicemail scripts, none of that. You got to start over. We got to rewrite those. Okay. We have to rewrite them with empathy and compassion, which we'll talk about in a minute. I want you to continue to use multiple communication methods. So again, if this is your first time with me, you'll know that I don't believe in one methodology. I believe in email. I believe in phone. I believe in video. I believe in LinkedIn communication. I believe in social touch. I get this question all the time. So I'll go ahead and cut your objection off at the pass. No one of these is the magic bullet. All of these is the magic bullet. You'll need to use multiple methodologies in order to get people's attention. God forbid you actually, we were talking in this morning's webinar, God forbid you actually have someone's cell phone number so you can text them or call them on their cell versus an office number. So I said one of the things I'm predicting already when we come out of this is that as we start to talk to prospects and customers, we're going to start asking for cell phone numbers. We never thought we would be in this position. We never thought we'd need to be texting or calling people's cells. I would say most decent sized companies or most companies with a good, PBX system or phone system or telco system, you can forward your office phone to your cell phone. But if you've been trying this, you're going to notice that it might have already gotten a little bit harder to get a hold of people. So as you're starting to reach out, start thinking about collecting cell phone numbers. I think that's going to come in handy now, but in the future. All right, so let's talk about compassion and empathy. Again, we do need to address the elephant in the room. Because I'm sitting with a group of lovely ladies, I assume that the majority of you know who Brene Brown is, and that I can use the Brene Brown verbiage with you. Brene Brown defines empathy as Me Too, and that was before hashtag the Me Too movement. That's not what she means. Empathy is I understand, I'm there, I feel what you're feeling. No other time in history can you know that you can call or reach out to someone and be empathetic. So, a lot of times you run across people and they have a situation and you've not been through that situation, and maybe you can be sympathetic, but empathetic is going to be harder. This is not then. Everybody here today, everybody that you're calling into, everybody is scared. Everybody is uncertain. Everybody, doesn't know what tomorrow's going to bring. If you've got, again, I say to people in the webinars now, if your child walks in, if your spouse walks in, if the dog barks, it's not a big deal, right? Like, we're all dealing with that. I've got my 20-year-old son home from college. We have not spent this much time together in a long time. So this is the new reality. I also have a puggle. She loves to bark at whatever moves. So this is just it, right? So use empathy now. You can use empathy now because everybody's in the same boat. You still though need to also communicate your understanding of their business pain, right? So even though we're going to lead with empathy and compassion, and again, most of the sales reps I'm talking to, the first 5 minutes of almost every conversation is, how are you adjusting? How are you doing? What tips and tricks? What are your hacks? How are you dealing with homeschooling while trying to, conduct business? But then we got to move into the business portion. Again, you still have a value added proposition. We still need to communicate that. Okay, so don't forget, it's okay to put that out there. Like I said, their business pains have not gone away. And your solution hasn't changed. Your solution is still solvable as a solution and has some solvable problems for them. So go ahead and share the value that you bring to the table. But again, make sure that you maybe again, we're gonna talk about softening that up a little bit. And change your ask. So we have a wide variety of people on here. A lot of you mentioned that you were consultants. And so what I would say to you is, this is one of the things I'm doing. I mean, I'm doing all these webinars. I'm doing them, I'm not charging for any of this. I've reached out to all of my clients and most of my prospects or people or former clients, and offered three free 30-minute consulting gigs. So I'm reaching out to them and say, hey, listen, I don't know how the sales teams are doing, how they're dealing with this, but if I can be of any help and offer any advice or some tips and tricks, here's a link to my Calendly, and go ahead and put 30 minutes on my calendar free of charge. I'm happy to help. So I think now, it makes me feel better, knowing that I can, knowing if I can help that I can. I also think it's the right thing to do. But if I can add value now in this kind of a time, I'm kind of a universe person. I believe the universe, if I give, the universe will give back. And so I'm all about let's just do the right thing as humans. I would ask you to potentially change your ask. So I'm not sure what everybody's ask is, based on you guys have a wide variety of industries that you're calling into and a wide variety of businesses. But whereas you might have asked for an appointment, you might have asked for a meeting, you might have asked for something a little more concrete, I might ask you to soften that a little bit. I think as the weeks go by, this will change a bit, but I still feel like, I think I heard on the Today Show this morning, there are still something like 23 states that have not gone on lockdown yet. So the other thing is everybody's still in a different stage of this, whereas those of us in St. Louis have been locked down for a couple of weeks now. I'm not sure if Denver went and if they've gone down on lockdown. Arizona just went on lockdown, Virginia, DC, Delaware just went on lockdown. So there are several states that are still not on lockdown. So this is going to be like a rolling process. So again, as we're starting to adjust to the new normal here after 2 to 3 weeks, other people haven't even dealt with this yet. So maybe, again, be conscious about where you're calling into, and then do you have a newsletter? Are you going to, can you throw a webinar together for your clients to add value? What about sharing an article of interest, whether you wrote it or whether you found it interesting? Again, I am really advocating people start to write some content. No offense, but you potentially have some time on your hands now. So I'm writing a blog post a week. Before I was writing 2 a month. So every time I do a webinar, I'm changing it into a blog post. And I have a monthly newsletter that goes out. So all of that's content, but any kind of thought leadership or content you can provide about your perspective, about tips and tricks that you have. And then last resort, hey, do you mind if I just keep in touch over the next few weeks or months, to see how you're doing and see how things are going. So not saying you can't ask for an appointment at some point. I'm just not sure I would start there. The bottom line is, if you are making a prospecting call or some sort of a business call, they know why you're calling. If they'd like to do something more concrete, like a meeting, or get a group of people together, I think they'll ask for that. So I'm asking you to just soften things up just a bit for now. And for those of you who've heard me before, like Kristie, she knows that's not normal for me, but I do believe it's the right thing to do now. So how are we gonna open that call, or how are we gonna open that email? And again, I've got some question marks here in case anybody has some thoughts about things that have worked well for you. I'm all about sharing those. But again, I want to go right to the elephant in the room. Thank you for taking my call. I always start my calls that way. When someone answers the phone and does not know that I'm the person on the other end of the phone, I always thank them for taking my call. I know that these are unusual times, or we know that in the current environment, it's hard to consider new purchases or vendors today, and I'm not expecting you to do that. But I wanted to reach out to see if you'd be open to having a discussion in the future, and maybe ask a couple of questions now, just to see if there's anything I can do currently to help without you opening up your checkbook. I'll take a pause here. Has anybody attempted any prospecting calls or emails? How have they gone? How are you opening up those calls? Any best practices? Okay, well, hopefully you're here, because tomorrow you're going to start the prospecting calls. I'm looking forward. Okay, again, I'm using some tech terms here, but we need to be researching and customizing our messages. So again, I'm using the term cadences. That's what we call outbound outreach, or top of the funnel prospecting. So we need to write new templates, new voicemail scripts, new messaging. You might even need to be writing new website copy, by the way. Depending on some of your businesses, you may need to, on your homepage, adjust your website copy. So think about all of the marketing methodologies that you have out there, and maybe some adjustments of copies. So research. So their website. So go to the company's website, go to the leadership page, go to the press release page, go to the About Us page, do some research, and then for sure you need to go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn will give you a lot of information about them. And then I always go to Twitter. And this is just from my personal, so anything I post on LinkedIn is business. But if you go to my Twitter account, you'll see 2 things: business and basketball. So I'm a huge NCAA basketball junkie. I'm a Jayhawk. So this was definitely was March Sadness for me, not March Madness for me. So we're still, my son is he's a 4th generation KU student now. And so we've had a very hard time getting through going into the tournament as a #1 seed. But you would know that about me. And if you reached out to me on LinkedIn or through email or through phone and you started off with something about my team, I'm 100% going to talk to you. So like, no doubt about it. So do again, and I'm not a Facebook person, so I'm not on Facebook, but another good source for you. But I got a prospect meeting one time. I was trying to get a hold of a founder, and I went and found his Twitter page and realized that he was a Belgian beer lover. And so my next subject line of my email was, "How about I buy you a Blue Moon?" And I got that meeting. So I think the other thing to say at this point in time is you need to be a little bit out of the box. You may need to be a little creative in your approach. You may need to use humor. Be careful with humor. Again, some things are going to fall flat right now, depending on people, where you hit them and how you hit them and what time of day you hit them. But again, I still think if you can use some humor and you can pull that off, this is never a bad thing. Again, as I said before, let's not push for a meeting. Let's add value. And I think there's so many ways to add value. Everybody has, all of you have special skills. That's why you're doing what you're doing. All of you have things to offer. You also probably have special skills that are outside of the job role that you're calling about. So, I think sometimes even right now, like I'm trying to just make some connections for people. I'm trying to put some people together that I think could benefit from each other, even if it's not from a financial standpoint, but like, I live in the startup founder world. It's very scary for people who've borrowed money from investors right now. They're still having monthly board meetings. They still have to account for revenue. And so, I'm trying to put some founders together to talk about how they're dealing with the situation. So think about all the ways you might add value that are beyond even the product or service that you might offer. Questions, comments, feedback, thoughts? Good? Good. Okay. Video. I'm a junkie. Most of you appear to be comfortable with video because most of you are on video. So love. Zoom. So first off, there's a lot of free resources out there. Zoom is one of them. So anybody could have a free Zoom account. There are some limitations there. You can only do 40 minutes on your free Zoom account. You can only have 20 people on any given time on your Zoom account. But I've been using free Zoom account up until 3 weeks ago when I upgraded to my $15 a month news service because I wanted to be able to do these webinars and have up to 100 people, and I didn't want a restriction on time. So there are a lot of free resources out there. If you're not using a video conferencing system, go get Zoom. It's free, and those are the restrictions that apply. I think we need the video right now to make a personal connection. I think people need to see each other. I think we're going to be more empathetic and compassionate over video. I think you'll be able to read people. The other thing is people are more engaged, right? They're not multitasking when they're on video with you. You're going to have their full attention, and they will, and vice versa. So I think this is going to increase our personal connection, which I think is not even warranted, but needed right now. So all of those things, video tips. I was talking to a client up in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago, and he said when all the people started working from home, like it took people a few days to figure out their home office situation. So I'm facing my window. It's over here. And I have my overhead light on. He said a lot of people had their back to the window, and he said they looked like Jesus. So there was this little glow around them, but you couldn't see their face. You could just see the glow. So again, play with the video. If you're on video with your camera, just play around with it, figure out what the right lighting is. Again, this room even that I'm in is a little bit dark if the sun's not out. So I have to move and sometimes I go to the kitchen because I have a big window that goes out on my deck. So I get a lot more lighting there. So play around with where you're going to be. Appealing background. I didn't see anybody, but if you have Zoom, and I have not done it yet, but Zoom has all of these fun backgrounds. So you can put yourself at the beach, you can put yourself in space, you can put yourself on the slopes. And I got people that are changing them on the fly and changing them daily. So again, kind of fun. It's okay. Like right now, like we're making personal connections like never before. Go ahead and show your personality. If you're a beach person, do the beach thing. If you're a snow junkie, go do the snow thing. Whatever, there's all kinds of really fun backgrounds. So I think it's just kind of fun to play with. If you have logo wear, I would wear your logo wear if you're making outbound prospecting calls or you're calling customers. So again, even if, I mean, like, again, like I'm going on plenty of video calls with people with baseball hats on. I don't care about that. Like mug, hat, t-shirt, jacket, vest, whatever. So pull your logo wear if you've got that out so people can see it. I actually have I'm part of a group nationwide called Women's Sales Pros. So there's 45 of us across the nation that are female sales consultants, most of us in the software space. But a couple of them are LinkedIn specialists and have, but they've gotten screens where the name of their company is plastered behind them. A lot of really creative things that I've started to see go on. And like I said, again, like it's okay if your personal life bleeds into your professional life. Like I don't need, like, again, kids can walk in, dogs can bark, people walking across the screen. God love Al Roker. He's at home doing the weather now. And Deborah, his wife, was walking across the kitchen in the background. Like nobody cares. I mean, like nobody just cares right now. There's so many other things to worry about. We just can't worry about a small child walking into the room. Go ahead, put them on your lap and continue your call. Like we just don't care anymore. But if you're not comfortable with video, the other thing is I've noticed is I'm always on video. So when I set up my video calls, when you go into Zoom, you can set up the parameters. And so I set my parameters up that says, turn my video on when I come on and turn my participants' videos on. They can always turn them off, but when they see me, they're more likely to turn them on. And so a lot of times people will be like, oh my gosh, you're on video. And I'm like, yep, and I haven't showered yet. Like I just, I'm just like, hey, listen, we're gonna roll with this, guys. So you think about the setup too when you're scheduling a video meeting. Go ahead and set it up so that everybody's video comes on, and then just say to them, hey, listen, I would really like to see you, and I don't really care what you're wearing. I caught a candidate. I do a lot of interviewing for my clients. I caught a candidate off guard last week. God love her. She's like, oh, we're doing video. She goes, oh, I didn't know we were doing video. I go, yep, we're doing video. She's in her yoga pants and her sweatshirt. And I was like, don't care. Like really, no, like not making any judgments about that right now. And then the two other poor candidates that I did not warn, that I warned about video, they came with ties on, so I had to talk to them separately. So even I've got to do a better job of saying, like, come as you are, so to speak, but please don't dress up for me for my 30-minute phone screen with you. But if you let people know ahead of time that you're going to do video, that they may put some makeup on or do things that will make them more comfortable. All right, so let's talk quickly about objections. So first off, for those of you who have not played with me before, I'm going to give you my objection 101 training, which is we handle objections by asking questions, not by talking our way out of them. So talking your way out of an objection sounds defensive and doesn't work. So I make my sales reps that I train, give me your top 4 objections, I say, and then I want 3 questions you're going to ask to learn more. So let's take the easy one, right? So price, like, yeah, I don't have budget for that. That's our favorite one, right? Here are my 2 go-to questions for that. So does that mean it was a budgeted initiative and you've already spent the money, or you never really budgeted for it? Because those are 2 very different things. If it's a line item and they budgeted for it, but they picked a competitor or somebody else, so they've already spent the money on whatever they had budgeted it for, well, this is actually good news for me. This means they actually believe in what I'm selling and they had money set aside for it. That money's all gone at this point, but they believed in it. Versus, no, we're not, that's not budgeted for us. We don't have anything like that. That's a different sale for me. So even asking those 2 questions off of, I don't have any budget, gives me 2 very different perspectives on where to go with that. So at the end, if you guys want to play, if you guys want to throw out some objections for me, and I can come up with some questions, but in general, we want to handle objections by asking questions. So immediately, let's go to the people who are just knee-jerk reacting right now a little bit about, hey, call me in May or call me in June, or now call me in July, or let's talk when this is over. And so here's my go-to. I would be happy to schedule a time to speak to you in a few weeks or a couple of months, but if I could ask you a couple of questions right now, I may be able to determine if there's even a reason for us to speak in the future. Would that be okay? Most everybody says yes to that. So first off, like, I'm not even sure, like sometimes I'm calling out to people, I'm not even sure if it's a fit. I'm not even sure if what I have to offer would be of value, or is a good fit for them. So I can stack my calendar in June with callbacks, but if half those people I'm going to call back weren't a good fit for me anyway, I've just wasted my time and theirs. And that's one of the things that bugs me the most is just, I think it's disrespectful to waste people's time when you don't have to. So I think you should, what are your 2 or 3, I call them disqualification questions. So what are the 2 or 3 questions that you could ask a prospect or a customer that would actually disqualify them from your product or service, would make them not a good fit? And so those are the questions that you would want to ask so that you can decide whether or not there's even a reason to talk to them in June. So I would encourage you to, think about what are the objections you normally get, and do you have 2 or 3 go-to questions to address those to learn more. So seek to understand is what I say. When an objection comes up, seek to understand. The other thing is, a lot of times the objection you hear isn't the objection, right? That budget, that price thing is always the go-to for people. They think if they tell you they're broke, you'll go away. And we're just not going to do that. So you have to really understand, what that really means. All right. We flew through that in some sort of a record time, 30 minutes, under 30 minutes. So I want to do as much Q&A as you guys want to do. And I don't care if it's on the current topic. I think I gave you enough information about myself to let you know the areas that I could be of service to you in. So chat away, unmute yourself. What are you worried about? What are you finding? What questions do you have?
I have a question, Kristie. You mentioned video and using video. Are you just referring to meetings with people, or are there other ways we should be considering using video?
Oh, thank you. That sounds like a plant question, but it really isn't. Because I didn't ask you to ask me that. Here's another, yes, thank you for asking. Here's another video service that you need to be familiar with. It's called Vidyard, vidyard.com. Vidyard allows you to do personalized videos embedded into email. So when they open the email, a little personalized video that says, hey, Aaron, this is Kristie Jones with Sales Acceleration Group. I've sent you a couple emails, but I wanted to put a name and a face and a voice together. Would really love to chat and see how you're doing and see if there's anything I can do to add value during this really crazy time we're in. Feel free to reply back to the email I sent you yesterday, and let's schedule some time together. So really cute little videos. The other tip I'm going to give you today, I apologize for pulling out my cell phone, but I can't give you the tip without it. So hopefully you all have the LinkedIn app. If you have the LinkedIn app, I want to give you the tip and trick of the day. So I just did an interview today with Adam. So Adam has sent me a thank you through LinkedIn, which is totally fine and appropriate. But instead of replying to Adam and typing it back, I'm going to send Adam a voice message. So down here at the bottom, there's a little speaker button. Okay, so I'm going to push the speaker button, and you'll see the big speaker button appears. And I'm going to push and hold the big speaker button, and I'm going to talk and say, hey, thanks, Adam. It was great to meet you today, too. And then I'm going to release my finger, and it's going to say, do you want to send or do you want to cancel? So every time I do this, and I'm going to show you the other options here in a minute, but every time I do audio or video, I get 100% response almost. So I'll do cancel. So I can do the same thing with Adam. I can come back here to the bottom, right next to where it says send a message, and there's a plus sign. If you click the plus sign, now all of a sudden you have a bunch of options. And video is one of them. So you can do camera or video. And if I click video, now I can record myself. I can record a video and send that over to someone. So Vidyard embeds it into email. This is super effective. Every time I send a video or a voice message back, people are like, that's really cool. How do you do that? So now at least they're going to call me back because they need to know the little hack I just did.
Kristie, can I ask a question about that really quick? And this may be a dumb question. I apologize in advance if it is, but can you use that application even if you're responding? So let's say you have a post and somebody asks you a question in your post. Can you respond the same way, or does that have to be more the personal?
It's just messages.
Okay.
Yep. Good. That's a legit question. Yeah. So even, if I go down to comment, like if I comment on a post, it doesn't show up. It's just the messaging feature. That's not a stupid question. That's a good question.
One other clarifying question in the comments. How do you spell Vidyard? Is it with a B as in boy?
Sorry. V as in Victor.
Okay.
Vid. Yeah. Vidyard.
Great.
Yep. Thank you. The other LinkedIn tip I'll give, since I'm doing the LinkedIn junkie thing, is never ever ask for a connection request without sending a note. So I will very rarely, unless accept an invitation request if it's just blind. And if it looks interesting, I will reply back and say, hey, Thanks for the interest in connecting. Just curious, what prompted you to do so? Because again, sometimes it's a solicitation, but sometimes it's not. I mean, sometimes I find out, that I got your name from somebody else and wanted to connect and talk to you. And I'm like, well, hell, then let me give you my Calendly and let's get a meeting scheduled. But you can, so like, let me see if I don't know if I can do this on my app. Let me see a minute. I don't think you can do it on your app, but so like I've got a connection request right here from Amy.
Me, yeah, and I just actually
Amy didn't know to send me a message. Amy,
no, I always send notes, but I just realized that I wasn't able to. So now actually what I am doing is I'm sending you a message as a follow-up, because you can go to your profile and do that, but I always send a message actually.
Nice. So let me show you one other trick. And I apologize for we're being casual, right? So if you go to LinkedIn and somebody sends you a connection request, and now I shouldn't have accepted Amy because I could have shown you. May have to try again.
Well,
somebody else send me a connection request while we're here. But you can go to manage, and then when somebody comes up, if they don't send you a request, hold on, here we go. Here's a message.
It's me.
Okay. Yeah, that's you. So if I get a connection request, in here and they don't send me a message, I can send them a message without connecting. So you go, like, if you see somebody up here, then you go to manage, and then when it shows up, it'll say message. And so you don't have to accept the message. You don't have to accept them to communicate because they've reached out. Oh, here we go. Thank you for doing that, whoever just did that. Okay, so here's Sarah. So if I go here to Sarah, oops, let me back up. If I come here to Sarah and I go to manage, now I can send Sarah a message without accepting or ignoring her yet. So I can message her.
Are you showing us LinkedIn? I don't know.
I'm showing you LinkedIn on the computer, not on the app.
Oh, mine froze. Can everyone else see? Okay, your slides.
Mine's frozen too.
Yeah, mine's frozen. Frozen or not frozen?
Frozen.
Okay. Some of us, I can see some people's heads moving, so I know not everybody's frozen, but I'll give you a minute.
I'm frozen.
Still good or not good? Like, I can see you moving.
No, it's just your slides.
Oh,
your shared screen is frozen.
Okay, let me stop sharing and reshare. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me see if that'll work.
Yep, now we're good.
That worked?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, so let me start over. So Sarah sent me a connection request. So if I go back to my network, here was Sarah. I can tell she didn't send me a note because there's no little note here. So I go to manage, and then I can send Sarah a message without accepting or denying her yet. So I can send a message saying, hey, Sarah, thanks for wanting to connect. Like, what were you thinking? Coffee, wine. And send, and I don't ever have to accept or deny her. And if she comes back and says, oh, like I got your name from so-and-so, I'm like, cool, let's, here's my Calendly, let's put a time on the calendar, and then I accept her. So you can work around, you don't have to accept in order to send a message once she's connected with you.
Is there a way to send a message while you're connecting using the phone app? I always thought you didn't have that option.
Oh, yep, there sure is. Hold on. Let's see. So I'm going to pull up some random person. Not that random person because I'm already connected to that random person. Hold on.
Might be under more. There's something under more when you go to their profile, accept, ignore. When you go to the invite, accept, ignore, then more.
Oh, yeah, so here's a guy that's a second connection to me. So we're not connected yet. Bob Chapman. So if I go to more, you can see it says personal invite. So go to more, go to personal invite, and now I can send him a message.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can do it from the app as well.
Kristie, so I have another question. In regards to sending personalized invites or to invite somebody, what is your suggestion or recommendation around doing that? Because I get a lot of them as well, and I don't want to come across as scripted. in what and when you push that out there.
Yep.
And here, you know, most of what you see is, oh, I saw you do this and we're the same, so let's connect. Or, oh, and there's got to be a better way to do it, and I just don't know what that is.
Yeah, there is. So yes, and that is what I say to people. So there's a few ways that you can customize your world, and one of them's LinkedIn, the other one's video. And so I'm looking for other things. That's why I say, like, I maybe do a little bit more research in this area. So it's not just, hey, I see we're both in the marketing industry or whatever, or accounting industry or whatever we're in. So I was at a conference a couple of years ago with an executive from LinkedIn. The number one reason that people will connect with you is if you went to their same university. First off, like 87% of people will connect with you and reply if you went to their university. So like if you lived in a town that they've lived in, if you lived in a state that they've lived in, do you know somebody who works at a company they either used to work at or currently work at? Like, try to make it personal even in that realm. Like, hey, I noticed that you worked at whatever. I've got a friend. I don't know if you know her or what, you know. So the other thing that I ask my account executives to do on that first outreach is to send something. So like, you know, hey, I saw, you know, go Badgers. I see that you went to University of X. Ran across this article. I thought it was interesting. I thought you might agree. You know, love to chat about it. And so I ask almost all my account executives or sales development reps to send an article of interest, something that, again, might be relevant to them. With, again, I say on the first outreach, if you're using LinkedIn for prospecting, do not ask for an appointment or anything. Give them something. Amy says yes, no? Yes.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is another way is you might look at what are they posting? And actually, I think a nice thing to do is it needs to be genuine for sure. But maybe there's something you really like what they posted. So before reaching out to them, comment. And I just actually connected with someone the other day because I loved what he was posting, truly, and I had something else to say about it. And then he replied, and then I replied, and I was like, oh, I should connect with him.
In less than 3 minutes,
I think that's kind of
help you get more out of your investment in video.
So anyway, that's right. That would be the only other way is see who they are. What are they posting anyway?
Yeah, if this is a bigger prospector, you might want to stalk them for a while in that manner. You know, again, so, and by the way, does everybody know that you can follow people without connecting with them? You don't have to connect with someone to follow them. Okay. So again, same guy, Bob Chapman, that I just, what happened here? What's happening? Oh, it's moving. You can, I follow a ton of people that I am not connected to, because I don't think there's a purpose in being connected. So like, yeah, so here's Bob again. I can follow Bob and not be a connection. He can still be a second level connection, and I can still, everything he posts, I can put in there. Same thing with companies, by the way. And so I follow a lot of companies. And so every time they post something, it comes into my feed, but I don't need to be connected with them. Okay. This is good. This has gone into LinkedIn 101, which I love because I'm kind of a LinkedIn junkie. What other questions do we have? Concerns?
What
strategies?
Kristie, this is Jessica. If you're just starting off with LinkedIn and you're not very familiar with it, is there a specific training that you would suggest that somebody would go to?
This is my child, Logan. See? So instead of texting me, he came in to show me the text.
Be on your phone.
He's showering and heading to his father's, in case anybody was curious.
I didn't interrupt you, and now you caused your own interruption.
Sorry, Jessica.
No big deal at all. I was just saying that I'm just getting into LinkedIn. I've been working on other platforms, so I was just curious if there was a specific training that you think that I should check out as being kind of a newbie to it.
You know what, LinkedIn, I don't know where LinkedIn has some 101 training. I would do YouTube. So here are some learning solutions, but I'm going to give you, let me give you the name of a couple of the women in my group. Bryn Tillman is LinkedIn guru #1. As you can see, so social sales link. So she's going to have blog posts and videos and webinars and all that kind of stuff. So go follow Bryn.
Okay.
And the other one, I may have to get back to you on the other one. I got to think about who the other one is. I got 2 people in my women's sales pro group, But Bryn's fabulous. She's on the beta test for LinkedIn, like, because this is what she does for a living. LinkedIn has put her on the beta testing, so she knows about stuff before anybody else, and she gives us these tips and tricks. So you want to follow Bryn for sure.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Good question. What else we got?
I don't actually have a question, but I've been thinking about this as we were talking, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when things kind of go back to normal, quote unquote, just because I do think using platforms like Zoom and having to interact the way we are, I do think it pushes people to have to be more authentic and just who they are. And I think that's a really good thing for business.
Yeah,
I think it's amazing for people to see you in your environment and just doing life in it. I think it just adds a whole different level to selling and just being in business.
Yeah, I agree. Somebody else just put in the chat this individual. So let's pull up this person. Hold on. Thank you for sharing. Oh, I don't know this person. So I will follow Ellen. Oh, wow. Look at, okay. Talk about changing your messaging. Look at her messaging. Transforming tone deaf LinkedIn profiles for coronavirus. I mean, holy crap. I mean, she just changed her messaging. Let's see if she's got any blog posts that she's, yeah. So, I mean, like right away, I noticed that right away. So talk about changing messaging and addressing the elephant in the room. Here's that's a really nice example. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, I do. Erin, I agree. I was talking to somebody yesterday and I said, the country, we're not going to be the same. You know, like even my 20-year-old, you know, he's old enough to be, you know, dealing with this, and he's worried about summer school, and he's going to get to go to summer school, and will the classes he need to be there if it's virtual, and like, this is going to have an impact. This is going to change our country and the world for a long, long time. And I think it is going to change how we interact with each other. I'm hoping we'll be more compassionate. You know, I'm hoping we'll be more authentic. I'm hoping we'll be more caring. And I just don't know how we could get through this and not be a little more sensitive than we are, even in a business environment. And I just love how it's bled in, to be honest with you. I mean, I love how I'm starting off conversations with people that maybe I didn't really have a true personal relationship, even if I might have worked with them for a year. And now I know things that I never knew about them, and I know about family situations and their struggle with new math and all kinds of things. Good comments, good questions, Amy?
Well, I don't know if it's a question. I mean, I'm definitely struggling. I think my clients, there's so much uncertainty around travel, so they don't even want to think about it right now, even dream about it. But I don't want to take this to me. I think kind of what you were just talking about when it comes to compassion is truly just, well, let me put it this way. Even with travel and then with some workshops I do on emotional intelligence, when I was going through some sales training for selling this program on emotional intelligence, it was all like, they were like, that's not going to work. You have to really show up. You really have to think what serves this. Like, is this the right fit? So everyone benefits. Like, you don't want to push something. It's like, what would serve them? What's their issue? Does this program really fit? So it's really about like, how can I serve them? And those answers will come up, I think, when you take that approach. You're still trying to close business, but I think it's really, really wanting to do that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know your opinion on that. Because I just think, yeah.
Okay, so so I didn't give this speech earlier, but I have been. There are three groups of companies right now, right? Those are actually thriving as a result of Corona, right? So technology, work from home, you know, remote, healthcare, transportation, delivery, Amazon, right? I mean, there's a whole subset. I mean, like, you think that retail's been devastated, but not if you're Amazon or Target or Walmart or anybody who's delivering stuff, right? Instacart. So, you know, there's a group that's thriving. If you have a reason to serve those industries, they need efficiency right now. And if your product or service makes them more efficient, I mean, think about being in the HR department at Amazon right now and trying to hire people. I mean, you know, and again, like if you're in temporary staffing, you know, like you're probably in a nice, you know, nice place if you've got people that can follow that. I was like, hey, I just got a message. So then there's the middle group that are uncertain. I call them these are the uncertain people. They're not thriving and they're not devastated. So Amy, sorry, but you know, the travel industry is on the devastated side. But they're in the middle, like they're uncertain. They're not sure how this is going to affect them long-term. They're not seeing any, you know, I mean, the sky isn't falling yet, but they're also not, they're not on the benefit side. They're just getting by, right? The just getting by people. We want to prospect to the thriving, the just getting by, and not the other people, by the way. But Amy, I still think you can add value, right? Because the people you serve are a weird weird in a good way, not in a bad way, but like they're a very unique subset, right? You know, like it's travel for mental and emotional health, maybe homeopathic, naturopathic, that kind of, you know, right? And so that's an interesting subset. So by the way, those people understand self-care, right? So those are the self-care people. So you can probably start to add value now in prep and getting them because if you understand self-care, you know you're going to need self-care at the end of this, right? So you could start to write blog posts about places to get back to, you know, as we're transitioning back to normal, how to do that in a way, you know, that'll give you all of the things that you're looking for. So, you know, I've got a friend that specializes in self-care for founders, SaaS founders. And we're going to do a webinar together next week. And so if those are people who are very attuned to themselves mentally and emotionally. And so they understand what they're going through. I think those people who are really in touch like that and understand the self-care concept, you know, are they going to be ready to book a trip right now? No, maybe not. But you can start to seek out places for them or talk to them about like the length of travel. So I think there's a lot of ways that you can add value because you've got a very in tune audience. Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to make sure it applies to everyone. So it's this idea of looking at your clients and identifying that subset. I'm kind of niche. I am niche, like you said.
Okay, very niche.
And how can you serve that niche right now, even if you can't close a sale? So that's something that applies to, in particular, all of us really looking at. But you're saying, hey, go to those clients first that maybe aren't devastated, you know, that are, and then the uncertain, and maybe don't start with that third set. But if you are in that third set, again, kind of, yeah, what can you do for them now? And I am definitely, my LinkedIn profile is about to change. I am pivoting in what would serve right now that does relate, but I don't want to talk. Anyway, I really wanted to
but again, I think yours is a perfect case study though. So we didn't really talk about pivoting. I talked about it. I did a webinar today about how companies need to think like a startup company right now, and pivoting is something that startup companies do all the time. Like we live in uncertainty. Startup companies live in uncertainty. So this is not as devastating for my clients. I mean, I've got clients that are still like, I got a client who the Friday after we went into lockdown, extended my retainer with them for 2 months. I was like, oh, okay. We live in uncertainty. They're not as freaked out as the rest of the world. Yeah. But I think it's a really good case study because think about the things you could do. Like people who love to travel and self-care still want to feel that. Yeah. So maybe it's a webinar you put together with video of some places that you're thinking about. And here's the other thing. I think you can get your community together. So yeah. I don't know how many people are familiar with Slack, but most of my clients in the SaaS world are Slack people. I'm recommending that they start an external Slack customer channel. Let the customers communicate directly with each other. They're all like my client in Indianapolis sells call center software. So all of their clients are call center software managers, you know, or operations managers or whatever. So whether it's about call center software or something else about operations, how can you I think you guys also need to be thinking about how do you put your community together? So Amy, what if you threw virtual happy hour, that let people come and either everybody, either you had some people give their experiences about their last favorite trip in the last 18 months. I mean, I don't think that's depressing. I think that's kind of like, that's hopeful, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah. I think the other thing to think about is how do you create your own client community and let them support each other and give each other ideas. And really you're the conduit for that. So that is adding value.
Yep.
Going on to that, it was really interesting. I actually saw something the other day, and it was a couple that was supposed to go on vacation, and of course their plans had changed. But it was really interesting because her husband actually created almost like a trip in their living room. So he had like a whole section for like a dinner place, and he had created this whole illusion. And it kind of speaks to what you guys are talking about, which is really fun, because I think that our opportunity, a lot of us right now, our opportunity is to figure out how do we support our clients or just keep them positive. Because when this, as we evolve through this, you know, I think it brings us front to mind to clients as well, or even to prospects, just by being authentic and helping them through what is a tough situation now. It brings you front of mind in the future when they're ready to do real travel.
Yeah. Very fun.
Yeah, you want to stay top. That's the other thing. That's why I said like newsletter, blog posts, content, putting people together. Yeah. You want to be top of mind when that credit card finally does come out of the wallet.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have a pretty active e-news
community. Oh, good.
Thank you. No, not active community, but I do have content, but there's tons more. But I think it was not knowing how aggressive to be with the particular travel content, actually. So anyway, thank you so much for the feedback. Yeah, I couldn't decide. I didn't want to be too aggressive with it. That's all.
No, I don't think, I think, again, I think everybody, I have not really come across anybody yet that I thought was doing things inappropriately, or that, you know, I think, again, like, I think the follow your heart and your head strategy, you know, is working. So
yeah. Thank you.
All right, Sarah, I know we have a few more minutes left, so so last few minutes of questions or feedback.
Anyone? Hey, this is Drew. We use Slack at Embark. So I really like the idea of starting an external Slack channel. I know that's not a question, but just feedback. Yeah. I might do that.
Yeah, I think it's honestly, I think it's a great idea. You have to, you know, gotta be able to communicate it out, you know, get it out there to your clients. But, you know, why not let them support each other and you know, post questions and do a Q&A with each other and, you know, connect with each other. I think that's great. I mean, if you can facilitate it more, the better. But if they can facilitate it amongst themselves, that's fabulous too. Like a little user group, as we would say in the software world.
Totally. Thank you.
Really changed my perspective because, sorry, this is Jessica again. I've been really just hyper focused on my current clients and just making sure I'm just adding value every single day to them, and knowing that, you know, I'm taking this entire week to call all of them in person, just connect with them. But now I got to think from a standpoint, sorry, my son's doing an art project with a friend right now, and that's what happened. So anyway, yeah, so now I got to figure out from a perspective of prospecting and how I want to go about that and what that's going to kind of look like to add value to those specific people. I'm not sure it'd be a personal phone call, but maybe it's a fun little video or something to bring them a little bit more hope. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you did the right thing, by the way. I told all my clients, you got to call customers first. So you did you're doing it in the right order. You have to secure the existing customers and make sure that those are safe before going back out. And again, like I said, like I had clients that I called the first week and said, stop prospecting and take those people and deploy them to call your customers. So like, you know, a lot of my clients have what we call SDRs or BDRs in my world. So sales development reps or business development reps that just go out to try to find good prospects and then schedule appointments for a senior person, like a senior account executive. I said, stop, they are not to do prospect this week. Redeploy them. We'll retrain them and give them some scripting and an outline. You guys got to get through all of your customers as soon as you can. So you did the right thing.
Okay.
Well, thank you everyone for being here. And thank you, Kristie. This was great.
Awesome. I'm glad. This was a really nice discussion. Thanks everyone for your interactive participation.
I hope everyone has a great rest of their week.
Guys.
Thank you.
You can find more RISE programming twice a day. See you again soon.
It's an infomercial.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.